Hi all, it's Skip from Skip's Messy Workbench. And I'm not in the shop today. As you can see, I'm in my home office. And I'm going to do something a little different today. Last week, I think it's about a week ago now, Grandpa Mark's it's Grandpa Mark's Hobbies. His name is Mark. And he posted a video about how he makes his license plates. And I saw this video, and he's got some good information out there, but I have a different way of doing it, and I think it's a little easier, to tell you the truth. Might be, might not be, but I also use all open source software. So if you want to do this, there's nothing to buy. It's all free. So what I thought I would do is I would take this opportunity to show you how I do my license plates. This video might get a little long because not only that, I have quite a bit to cover. We'll see. I'll try to keep it short. So anyway, I actually talked to Mark about this, and he recently downloaded the one piece of software that I use. So I thought I would do this, and I'll share you how I do mine. Okay, so let me turn the camera around. Actually, I'm going to turn the camera off, and we're going to work from my desktop. So let me do that, and stay with me. I will be back in 1 second. Okay, thanks. Hi, and here we are. This is my desktop on the computer. I want you to know that I am running Linux, and I'm running the Zorin distro of Linux. So, but if I didn't tell you that, you'd think I was in Windows, with the exception of the little icon or logo application launcher down there, which is not the little Windows thing. Anyway, this is Linux. Now, I'm saying that because if something does look a little different to you, you'll know why, but it shouldn't look different. Everything I'm going to do should work whether you're on Windows and Windows 10 or 11, on Linux, pretty much any of the Linux distros, and on Mac OS. Now, Mac OS may have a few subtle differences. I don't know Mac OS, so I can't really speak to it. Okay, so that said, I also use as my web browser Brave, and Brave is right up here in the corner. You can see me moving on and off of it with the mouse. It's a little lion's head. I use Brave as my browser. I have Google Chrome installed. I use Brave just because it's more secure. It does not collect a lot of personal data from us. So that's why I use Brave. So what I'm going to do is, I have Brave down here in my quick launch, and I'm just going to open Brave. And when Brave comes up, each time you launch it, it gives you a different picture. Brave is configurable. You can configure this browser pretty much the way you like it. And that's another thing about the Brave browser that I like. And I'm not selling the Brave browser. It's free anyway. So what I want to do first, though, is I want to search for a license plate. Now, since I'm going to be building a 1932 Ford, the Deuce Coupe, it's the 5-window coupe, for the American Graffiti build, I want to put a Pennsylvania plate on it. Now, I know the movie takes place in California, but I'm from Pennsylvania, and I put Pennsylvania plates on all my cars. So let's search for that. Now, I use DuckDuckGo as my search engine. Again, I use it not because it's better, not because it's anything else. I use it because it's more secure. I use it because it does not collect a lot of personal information like the Google search engines do. So I'm using DuckDuckGo, and all I'm going to do here is I'm in the URL bar up here, the web address bar. I'm going to just type in what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a 1932, and you can see I looked for this before, PA license plate, and press enter. And it comes up with the search results, and you can see it looks, you wouldn't know I was in Brave if I hadn't told you. Then I'm going to come across the top, and I'm going to click images. That way all I'm going to get are the images. Click images, and I get all the images for what I was searching for. And I already see that there's a lot of 1932 images in this search. Now, I got to stop here for a minute, and I got to tell you something. Let me zoom in a little bit here. And I zoomed in on this because right now we are looking at all licenses. If you look at this text bar across here, this little drop down options, we're looking at all licenses. 99.9% of these images have copyright on them, guaranteed. So if you use them and you modify them and it's for your own use and you're just going to keep it in your house, nobody will know. But if you're going to put it on a model that you're going to put in a show where it's going to be displayed to the public, or if you're going to use this for some other feature that is not just for your use, you will be in violation of copyright. I'm really, I'm fussy with copyright because as a former educator, I spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours creating course materials, which eventually got put online. And it wasn't long after they went online and they were copyrighted. I am the owner. It wasn't long, no. I found a website in South Africa that had and was using my materials, my work, and they didn't credit me. They were saying it was their work. And it just irritated me. I wasn't going to do anything legal with them or anything, but it just made me irritable because people think that anything on the internet is free, and it's not. Anyway, I'm going to get down off my soapbox. So I can tell you that I am going to use a plate out of this area, and I'll tell you why. If you come over here where it says all licenses, we're going to drop this down, and you're going to see that there's a bunch of options here that you can make. There's all of Creative Commons, there's public domain, there's free to share and use. But what I want to do is I want to say free to share, to modify, share, and use. Because I'm going to make modifications to it. I'm going to share this. It's going on my model. I have a YouTube channel, so that's going to be shown in the public domain. So I'm going to click on free to modify, share, and use, because that will give me the rights to do anything I really want to that image and not violate copyright. So let me zoom out to there we go. Oh, one more. The problem with using this way is that you're going to have less images for one. And that's because these images are now free to use. And there's not as many as there are when you say all licenses. And as you scroll through this, and I've already done this to save time, there are no 1932 Pennsylvania license plates. So there's nothing there for me to use. So what I'll do is I'll again come up here and I'll try the public domain. Now the public domain says that it doesn't have anything in the public domain. I could have used something in the public domain because that's why it's there. but there is nothing for a 32 license plate. So let me do this and let me try all Creative Commons. Creative Commons is a license, and there's several different types of Creative Commons licenses. Some of them say you can use them freely. Some say you can modify them. Some say you can use them but not modify them. Without permission is what it is. And I looked through all of these also, and there was no 1932 Pennsylvania license plate. So I knew that wasn't going to work. So I'm going to go back to all licenses. And I'm going to zoom back out to full. And what I do then is, because I know this is a copyright image, I'm going to be pretty sure of it. If in fact I am going to use it in a place where it's going to be exposed to the public, I will sometimes, or most of all the time, ask permission to use it. But first of all, I'm going to find an image that I want. So if you look across here, like here the lighting's not real good. And even though I can fix some of that, I don't want to spend a ton of time fixing images. Here's another one. It looks like it might be chopped off a little bit. Here's another one that's really filthy dirty. Another one that's really faded. Scroll down here. A 1932. Boy, that's not in bad shape. This is in good shape. And so I'm going to use this one, and you'll find out why in a minute. So I'm going to click on it. And it is in good shape. It's in nice shape. It has a couple of scratches here, and some of the lettering is scratched. But I'm going to use this one. I'm going to zoom in again, because over in here you will see that there is a tagdoctorstore.com. This image comes from this website. So I go to the website. When there's an image, when there's a website specified, I will go to that website. So I'm going to right click and just say open link in a new tab. And it opens up the Tag Doctor store. And I can already see it down here at the bottom. There it is. Look at $37.99 for a plate. That's pretty steep for a license plate, especially when you can probably go to an automotive flea market and find what you're looking for a couple of bucks. But I'm going to click on that plate, and it's going to open up larger. Now I can see it's a little crooked, but we're going to fix that. All right. It's dirty. We're going to fix that. And it's got scratches on. We can fix all that also. So I'm going to save this. Now I can just take a screenshot, but the resolution's not good. And that's another thing. You want an image that has a good resolution, because you're going to be reducing this image down really small, maybe a half an inch long by just a couple of tenths of an inch high. And when you go to print it, it's going to look like crap. So you want something with a fairly high resolution. So I'm going to save this. Actually, I'm going to right click on it. And look at this thing. All photos are copyright Rod Pearman, please don't steal. So apparently he's got people stealing his images. So what I did, folks, and I'm going to jump ahead here, was I sent a message to this website. And let me see if I still have it up here. I did. Here's the message I sent him. This is rod@tagdoctor.com. And just asking him permission in the subject line, may I use your images? And I just told him, hi, I'm a modeler and we'll be building a 32 Ford. I make my own license plates. Was wondering if you mind if I use the image. And I gave him a description of the image and the web link to where I found it. I told him I'm going to clean up the plate. I'm going to be modifying it and then scaling it down to 1/25th scale and printing it. So I told him what I wanted to do about it, and I thanked him I greatly appreciate it. Within about 2 hours, I got a message back from him saying, "Hi, John." And John is my real name. My nickname is Skip, so it's okay. You guys call me Skip. But again, my real name is John. So it says, "Hi, John. Thanks for your email. Absolutely. Please use any images of plates I have in the store. And I appreciate you asking." So that was really nice of him. And within 2 hours, I got that message. Now, sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes it takes a day or two to get permission. I've never been refused. I always find that people are very nice if you ask them, hey, I want to use this, and tell them what you're going to do with it. Sometimes you won't hear back from anybody. And after a day or two, I just figure, you know what? Either the website's not being monitored anymore, maybe the person doesn't care, or maybe they're afraid to admit that they don't know where they got it. And then sometimes I get a message back saying, "We don't know where we got the image," which means they also stole it from someplace. And then I use it anyway because nobody's going to bother you. So that was nice of him to do that. Then this morning, I got another email from him that said, "Hi" again, and this time he called me Skip, which is fine. "I included the image below, thinking it may be better than taking a screenshot." So he actually sent me a photo of the plate, thinking that it would be of much better quality. And that was really nice of him. And Rod, thank you very much if for any reason you're watching this. I truly appreciate this. So again, if you're going to use an image off the web, please ask permission. Chances are, it takes you a little longer, but chances are you're going to be okay. So I can't save it from here. So I'm going to go back to Google, or back to Brave actually, and I'm going to save this image from here. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to, normally you could say copy the image. If you copy the image, you just have to paste it in your photo editor, because that's what I'm going to be doing with it. But I want to save the image. I want to save this image. So I'll click on Save Image As, and then I will pick my path where I want to save this. Now I've already saved this image. You can see it here. I renamed it 1932 PA license. So I've already saved this image. But that's all I would do. I'd do it and then say save. So let me just cancel this. So I've got the plate saved. Now I'm going to open this plate in my photo editor. Let me minimize Brave. The photo editor that I use is Gimp. It's a GNU image manipulator, and here's the icon for it right here. Actually, I have two. One doesn't have the icon on it. This right here is the latest version, 3.2 something or other. The image, or the version I'm going to use, is the previous version, 2.1. It won't matter which version you use, okay? It's fine. Either one is good. The reason I'm using the earlier version is because I have some plugins installed that work well in 2.1. So I'm just going to open Gimp. And I just double clicked on it and it's going to open. And here's Gimp. This is open source. It's absolutely free. You can download it from gimp.org. And you can download it for Windows, for Linux, or for Mac OS. Now I have mine already set up the way I like it. You can set your environment. You can set your whole environment here the way you like it. I like the color buttons in the toolbox. This is my toolbox over here. I can get all this stuff from the menu also. But I like the colored ones, and I like them expanded. There's options in here that will collapse some of these features so that when you go on a button, and click on it, you'll get other options for that. But I like it all expanded out. In this window I have, when you click on one of these tools, you'll get all the options available for that tool. On this side, on this bottom piece, I have my layer box. Gimp is basically based on layers. I don't remember if Photoshop was. I know you can do layers in Photoshop, but Gimp really depends upon layers. So you have to get kind of used. It took me a while to get used to it. And I also want to tell you, I am not an expert by any means in Gimp. I pretty much learn what I need to do and then I do it. And when I need to learn something else, I learn what I need to do. This up here is just my color palette, which I'll leave up. So now I'm going to open that plate. So I'm going to come up on the menu and say File, Open, and I get my open dialog box, just like you would in Windows. And I'm not going to navigate for it because I had already opened it. I'm going to cancel this, and instead I'm going to do File, Open Recent, and I'm just going to grab this out of my recent images. And there it is. Now the same type of shortcuts tools work in Gimp as they do in Photoshop. If I hold the Control key down and use my mouse roller, I can zoom in and out. That works the same. If I move my mouse pointer on top of the image and hold my space bar, I can move the image around on the editor. So you'll be seeing me do that, and that's how I'm doing it. So it's Control Rollerball and space move around when you see me do that. So now that it's in here, I am going to zoom in a little bit. Actually, I'm going to zoom back out again. And I am going to move this down here to the corner a little bit. Because if you can see, this plate is crooked. Now my dotted line around here is straight, but the plate is definitely crooked. I can fix that. And I'm going to fix that with a tool up here that's called Unified Transform Tool. And I don't know if I can zoom in on this. No, I can't. I'll try to zoom in on when I edit. But Unified Transform Tool. And I'm going to click on the tool. I get all my options for that tool here. So some of my constraints here is I'm going to scale, I'm going to shear, whatever all this means, okay? I pretty much use it as at defaults, but I also keep Show Image Preview. If you turn that off, you're going to do your work and you won't be able to see what you're doing. So I keep that on. And I'm going to click on the image. Now you'll see up here a little dialog box open. You don't have to do anything in there. It gives you information. But around the image, you'll see a lot of, these are called handles. And what I want to do is I want to straighten this out. So I'm going to come into the corner, and you see how my mouse pointer turns to a little angle thing? I'm going to go in there, I'm going to hold the mouse down, and I'm going to bring this edge down so that and over so that it lines up with the dotted lines of my box. You see I'm really distorting it there, but and there. Okay. So that looks okay. I'm going to try it over here. Okay, that's there, and then let's just try here. That's there. And I'll just go around and make sure everything is squared up. I've got a shaky hand today. Okay. When you're all done with getting it squared up, come up here and you click Transform. And then you can see my dotted line is no longer where it was. It just moved a little bit. I'm going to come in under the layers menu, and I'm going to say layer to image size. And it moves that in. And based on those dotted lines, I've got that plate pretty well squared up. So let me move this up here more to the center. Nope, let me cancel this out. Okay, and let me move that up toward the center. I cancel it out by just selecting another tool. All right, the next thing I want to do is I want to see if I can sharpen this up a little bit. It's a little bit blurry. I mean, if you really zoom in on it, it's a bit blurry. Sometimes you can fix the blur really easily. Sometimes you can't. So I'm using one of the filters. Up here is the filters. And I'm dropping that down, and I'm going to use an enhance. And I'm going to use a sharpen unsharp mask filter. And when I click on this, you're probably going to see it change almost immediately. And it did. If you take notice, it already got brighter. It already got crisper. And I can adjust things in here. I want to see where that is, 3. I can bring the radius of this up. You can see, boy, I could really do a lot of adjustments in here. I can bring in the amount that I want to do it. You can really make it look ugly. All right. So you can try to get your image sharper. So let me cancel this because I want to just do it again. Filters, enhance, sharpen. And you can see the difference here. Here where it says preview. If you unselect this by clicking, that's what it looked like before. That's what it looks like with the enhancements. So I'm going to make this just a little bit sharper. You don't want to overdo it because you could really mess yourself up. Only in that it starts to look more cartoonish. It doesn't look real anymore. All right, so I just made a few adjustments, and when I do that, you just say, okay. So that's got that fixed. Now, I'm going to scale this thing. I want this to be for a 1/25th scale model. I looked it up prior, ahead of time. I looked up how big and what size a 1932 Pennsylvania license plate was. And it came back to me and said that they were 12 inches wide by 6 inches high. I want this to be a 1/25th scale. So just bring up the calculator and I just adjust my scaling. So I know it's 12 inches and I'm going to divide that. Oh, not add. I'm going to divide that. I'm going to do 12 divided by 25. If you were 1/24th scale, you would divide by 24. If you were 16th scale, you divide by 16. And I'll say equals, and that's 0.48 inches. So 0.48 inches. Let me just minimize that. So now I'm going to come into images, the image menu, and I'm going to say scale the image. Now when it comes up, when the dialog box for scale the image comes up, the image size and width and height is in pixels. I'm going to change that to inches. So I'm going to drop this down and choose inches. You can see I got millimeters, I got points, I got picos. I can do a lot of things. I'm going to do inches. And right now it's 1.477 inches wide by 0.733 high. And there's also over here, that's a chain link. And it says right now it's linked. If I click on that link, it unlinks it. But I want that linked. And in here, I'm going to put a width of 0.48. And I'm going to press the tab key. And what that does is automatically sets my height. Now the resolution of this is 300 pixels per inch. Because I'm going to be making a very small image of this, I want it a little bit sharper than that. So I'm going to click into my X resolution, and what's going to happen is I'm going to change this. I'm going to increase this, but it's also going to change my image size then. So I found that, and I experimented with this, I found that 1,000 works really go, and I press the tab button to move to the next field. And then I got to come back up here to the width and readjust the width to 0.48 tab. So this will make it also print well for me at a small size. So I'm just going to say scale. You can see it got a little bit bigger. Now comes the fun. I'm going to clean this plate up. Now I am not going to fuss around because it can take, you could spend a lot of time cleaning up this stuff. And there's a couple of different ways you could probably do it. But I'll show you the way I do it, because you got to remember this is going to get really tiny. Actually, when I print this, it's going to probably be about that size, maybe smaller. So a lot of the stuff you're not going to see. So again, I'm not going to fuss, but I'm going to show you how I do it. In Gimp, because there's a whole bunch of ways to do this, here's the way I do it. I will come over to my toolbox and I will pick up the bucket fill tool. Now in the bucket fill tool, there's options here. You'll see there's foreground. You're going to fill with foreground. You can fill with background. You can fill with a pattern, and so on and so forth. And there's also a threshold, which I'll talk about shortly. But what I want to do is I want to set the color that I want to fill with. And so I look, So I look over at the plate and I'm going to see, let's see, what looks close to what the color is without being so dirty. And it looks like in here, it looks like it's the best. So I'm going to come over to my foreground color. This is foreground, this is background. I'm going to click on it and it brings up my color changer. And I'm also going to pick the eyedropper tool. And I'm going to click there and I'm going to come over into the image and I'm going to click a spot where I think I want the color to be, which is about right there. And it transferred it in there, and I'm going to say, okay. Now I'm trying to save some time here. So I am also going to click on the background color. And I'm going to use the eyedropper like that. And I'll say, okay. And I did that so I don't have to keep picking colors. This only has 2 colors in it, so I'm just going to pick those 2 colors. In my bucket tool, I'm going to say foreground color. So I can choose background, but right now I want foreground. My foreground color is that orangish yellow. The threshold. The threshold is a setting that's going to fill or spread the fill from the point that you click, and it's going to affect areas around the point and fill based on that color or similar colors. The higher the number in the threshold, the more color it's going to replace, or the more differences it's going to see. The lower the number, the fewer differences. Let me show you that. I'm going to set this now. Again, I did this before I came on here. I'm going to set this threshold to about 39. And I'm just going to come over to this side and click the mouse button. Notice how it filled that in. It filled most of that plate in. Now in Gimp, to undo what you just did, you can either come up on the Edit, Undo Bucket Fill, or you can hit Ctrl Z. So I will be using Ctrl Z. So I'm going to do that. Let me reduce this down. Let me reduce this. I'm going to go down to, I don't know, 10. And I'll click over in about the same place. Notice it did not fill as much of an area. That's because that's where it found similar colors. So you can use that, and you can just go around and keep clicking until you get it filled. Let me undo, 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 undo. All right. I just undid all that. And I'm going to set this back up a little bit. Maybe to 25. Let me zoom out so I can see the whole plate. And I'm going to click in. And I think I like that better. I'm going to click. I'm going to click. You got to get inside of these things too. And you can see I'm just going around and just filling in those extra spaces. Okay, you can get as fancy as you want. Let me zoom in over here to get some of these filled in. And again, you don't have to be neat, because these little tiny marks, which are just a couple of pixels, you are not going to see when you print this. Guaranteed. Okay, that's all the time I'm going to spend on that. So I've got that pretty well cleaned up. But now I want to do my lumbering. So I'm going to use the bucket tool, but this time I'm going to say background color, because my background color is that almost what looks almost black probably to you. But I'm also going to adjust my threshold down to about 20. And I'm going to click the 0 over here. And I'm just going to keep doing that to fill in. And again, I don't want it to look cartoonish. So I will take my time with this, because I don't want to lose some of the highlighting either. Oops. I accidentally clicked in the center, Ctrl Z. And I will just keep doing this until I'm happy with it. And we'll just keep doing this a little bit more yet. Okay, but you get the idea that I can come up and also do these right away. Let me do the keystones at least. You know, we are the keystone state. All right. So there's that. It looks pretty good already. Actually, it looks probably the way I'm going to keep it. And you could fuss around with it all you want. Now, if you want to get rid of some of these other items in here, like if you want to get rid of some of these others, and actually I see some areas here that I want to fix. So I'm going to switch back to my foreground color, which is that yellowish orange. And I just want to fix some of that in there. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, a little bit down here yet too. Okay. But down here I've got this glitchy little thing down here, and I want to get rid of that without filling. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use either the pencil tool or my paintbrush. And it doesn't matter. They both work fairly the same. I'm going to use the pencil tool, brings up all my options. My hardness of the pencil, I'm going to leave at 100 because I want to fill at 100%. If I click on the brush type, you'll see that I can change all the brush types. But I'm going to use that at 100. And the size, you can set the size of it. Now there's a bit I like doing, I don't do it this way. I like doing, if you look at my cursor here, if I hold the Control and the Alt key down together and roll my mouse, I can change the brush size. I hope you can see that. All right, and I'm just going to make this small enough to fit in here. And then I want to do it with the background color. So I'm going to have to switch these colors. And there's a little arrow in here. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to click on that and it switches my two colors. And I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to paint. Just holding the mouse button down and I'm just painting that. I can come over here and paint this stuff too. And if you really wanted to do it, you could probably do this to do the whole thing. But it's time consuming. Make my brush a little bigger. Okay. All right, that's good enough for now. All right. I'm not going to do anything at all with this edge, and I'm not going to do anything with the edge because, again, the size that you're going to be printing this, you're not going to see it. It won't be seen. But I do want to get rid of some things. I do want to get rid of these white areas. Now, I'm not going to trim that with any kind of a tool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make those white areas transparent. To make something transparent, you need what's called an alpha channel. So if I come over to the layer, this is the layer that I'm on right here. And I'm going to right click on the layer. And I'm going to look for add an alpha channel. So here is add an alpha channel. An alpha channel is what sets the transparency of the pixels. Without an alpha channel, you can't make things transparent. So this image must already have an alpha channel if in fact I can't select one. So that's a good thing. So I'm going to zoom in over here. Oop, I'm going to zoom in. Oh, I got to do that. I had to close that menu. I just clicked. I'm going to zoom in over here. And I'm again going to choose my bucket tool. But this time my mode, instead of being normal, I'm going to drop this down and I'm going to choose erase. And you can see there's a ton of options in here. But I'm going to choose erase. I'm going to leave my threshold at around 20. And I'm just going to click into this white space. And bye-bye. I'm going to get a little closer to this. I'm going to do the whole. I could probably set that threshold up a little bit higher, which I will. Let me make it about 31. Okay, let me scroll across here. Let me do that whole. Okay, we'll do that. Again, you don't have to be fussy. I'm going to do this corner. Let me do this edge down here. Let me do that edge and that edge and that edge. Again, you could spend a lot of time if you're anal like I am. I don't like what I just did. I'm going to do Control Z. Let me come up here. I'm going to click there. Get rid of that. Get rid of this hole. Get rid of this hole. Get rid of that corner. And zoom out. And I just made all that stuff transparent. This is ready, for me, this would be ready to print. Before I do that though, I want to save this. And I should have been saving this all along. Right? Now, in Gimp, you don't actually save the file, you actually export the file. When I do with the file menu and drop this down, you'll see that there is a save option and a save as option. And what that options do is it saves it in a Gimp format. And when you save it as a Gimp file, you can also always open that file up and pretty much continue where you left off. It'll have all of your edits on it. You can go back in and re-edit and do all that. It'll all be there that you can change things. So I am going to save it as a Gimp file to start. So save as, and then I got to choose where I want to save this. So video product media, and that's actually where I want to save it, in that path. And this is the path. This is just like Windows. You would just select your path as Windows. And this file name will be the same file name that you opened, but it'll have a file extension of .xcf. And that's a Gimp file. And I'm going to just say save. Now, this was originally a JPEG. JPEGs do not maintain transparency. There's only about 3 file types that maintain transparency, maybe 4. The first one is a .png file, a ping file, PNG. That will maintain transparency. A TIFF, T-I-F-F, will maintain transparency. A GIF, GIF file, will also maintain transparency, but it has some limitations. The file format that I like to use is WebP. It's W-E-B-P. It maintains transparency. It is the standard image type to use on the internet because it is one of the highest qualities, almost as well, actually it is as good as JPEG, maintains the transparency features, and is a much smaller file size. So online it will load faster. So in order to do that in Gimp, you do a file and we're going to export as. And that brings up the export dialog box. It looks exactly like the save box. The path is set yet because that's where I opened it. But right now you can see it's set to ping. I hope you can see that. It's set to PING. I want to change that. Down at the bottom here, you'll see select file type by extension. I'll drop this down and I'll scroll this list. You can see there's a bunch of different ways you can save Gimp files or these files as images. And I'm going to scroll down until I see WebP. And I'm going to click on WebP, and now the extension changes to WebP, and I'm going to export. You're going to now get another dialog box up to set image quality. When I do a web image, if I'm going to put it on a website, I reduce the image and the alpha qualities down to 50. I do that to make the image size as small as I can and still maintain some sort of crispness and sharpness. For this though, I am going to leave it at 90 and 100. Again, I've got to maintain sharpness. We're going to be printing a very small image, and therefore I don't want it to get lost in the mud. So I'm going to export it just as it is. I'm not going to change anything, and we're export. And it's now exported. This is now ready to print. I can print this right from Gimp. I'll just come up and say File, Print. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to just print one. So I got ahead of myself. Let's cancel this. What I want to do is I want to make a sheet with several of them on. So I'm going to create a new image. I'm say File, New. I'm going to again set my image size to inches. And I'm going to make it an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper. 8.5 in the width, tab 11 for the height. I want to set my advanced options. I'm going to leave my resolution at 1000 because it picked up what I did the last time. And I'm going to come down here to where it says fill with, and I want to make sure, right now it's going to fill with that orangish color because it says fill with background color. I want to drop this down. I want to fill it with transparency. You can fill it with white. You can fill it with a pattern, foreground, color, background. I want transparent. And I'm going to say, okay. Now, what it's telling me here is that in my settings, I have it set for a maximum file size of 134.2 megabytes. And it's telling me that this image is going to be bigger than that. And it's asking me if it's okay, if I want to create an image that size. And I'm going to say okay to this because I'm not going to save the print file because it's going to be a huge file size. And I could always recreate it if I want to print more anyway. So I'm going to say okay. And it gives me an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, which is transparent. I'm now going to go back. So up here is the two images I have open. And I'm going to click on the license plate. Now, I can do this a couple of ways too. I can say select all. That'll select everything on the image. Or I can do Control A, and I'm just going to do Control A. Control A selects everything. And I don't know if you can see it, but the little dashed line looks like little ants parading around the image. So I just copied that, and it copied to the, in this case, Linux clipboard. In your case, if you're using Windows, it would be the Windows clipboard. Mac, I don't know what they call yours. I'm going to now go over and open up my other image. And over in the image, I'm going to right click. I'm going to do an edit. And I'm going to say paste as a new layer. And when I do that, nothing happened. Let's try it again. I must have, because I was talking, maybe I did something wrong. Control A, I know what it was. We're going to do Control A. I forgot to copy it. I use Control C. Again, you can use edit, you can use copy. I use Control C. Control C, now it's copied. Now I'm going to come back to the paper, right click, edit, paste as a new layer. And now it pasted it. Look how small it is. I'm going to zoom in on it. The quality still looks decent, even zoomed in. All right, so that's that. Now I'm going to take and select my move tool. And I'm going to bring this image up here in the corner. And then I'm going to zoom in on it. and reposition. Now I've already have this on my clipboard. So all I have to do to get another one is say, right click, edit, paste as a new layer. Now it pasted it right on top of this one. I just come in with my move tool, click and drag, and there's another one. Over in my layers, you'll see that it's creating layers. And you can name those layers if you want. You can rename them. I'm going to do 2 more. So we'll do right click, edit, paste as new layer. Right click, edit, paste as new layer. I now have 4 of them on there. And if I scroll out, you'll see that they're there. That's the way they're going to print. And they will be the correct size for a 1/25th scale model. Now to print this, now we can go back and say File, Print. All right, I have an HP ColorJet printer, and that's where I'm going to be printing it. But I always like to do a preview first. So I'll do a print preview, and it's creating the preview. I don't know if you saw the status bar moving. And because the file size is fairly large, so that's what it's going to look like when it prints. So I'll just say print. And I don't know if you'll hear it or not, but my laser printer will kick in shortly. At least I hope it will. Okay. File, print. Unable to locate the printer. Okay, I'm going to pause it and I'll get that fixed and come back. Okay, I got that fixed. I don't know why that happened to me. I got a brand new printer, but that didn't matter. So let's do this again. So let's go in and say File, Print. We're going to print preview it. And again, you don't have to preview it. It's just something that I got into the habit of doing. And then we're going to print. And you can hear my printer probably kicking in. Maybe. Let's try this one more time here. Oh, there we go. It's printing. There it goes. It just took a while. Again, it's a big file. And here it comes. Maybe. Okay. We got it. Now we got a printout here. So let me switch over to the camera so that you can see that it printed. I'll be right back. Here we are back on the camera and you can see it printed. Let me come in on this and you can see that I've got 4 fairly good looking license plates that I can now use the sharp hobby knife and cut them. I'm hand holding this camera. I can just cut them and we'll be good to go. Okay, before we leave, I want to show one more thing about the Unified Transform tool. I had another plate that I downloaded just for this. So let me do a File, Open, Recent, and I have it labeled crooked. There it is, really crooked. You see, that thing is like really crooked. So I can fix this. If you ever get something like this and you want to straighten this thing out, it's really simple. The first thing I do is I select the crop tool. So come over here and select crop tool. And I'll start down here in the corner. I want the widest area. And I'm going to crop it. I'm going to just draw a square around this. All right, then I'm going to zoom into these corners. And I can come in and make adjustments to the size of this just by dragging the sides. And that's probably good. Just for this demonstration purpose. Then I'm just going to click into one of the squares in the corners and it crops it. Now that's my layer. That's the image. So I'm going to say layer, layer to image size. Now I've got a nice guide as to about where I want that plate to be. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit and I'm going to move this, oops. I'm going to move this down only because that dialog box up here, and I'm going to choose the transformation tool, the unified transformation tool. I'm going to click this, and now I'm going to drag this corner. I'm going to come into this handle right here. I'm going to drag this corner over and up. I'm going to get it lined up with those square dashed lines. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And I'll say transform. I will then do the layer to image size. And you'll see that I straightened that plate out fairly well, and it didn't take me long. So you don't even have to worry really about grabbing another, a plate, or grabbing a straight plate. You can straighten them out. So I'm going to do a part 2 of this video about what if I wanted to change the numbers on this plate. I know that's what Mark did on his. He changed the numbers on his plate. Well, you can do that right here in Gimp also. But this video is getting long, so I'm going to end this here, and I'll do a part 2 to show you how to do that. Thanks for putting up with me. Thanks for watching. And, if you like this, give me a thumbs up, please. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, smack the bell so you get notifications. It really helps the hobby. Personally, it's, I'm not in this for subscriptions, and I'm not in this I don't make any money. I do this because I enjoy doing it. But it does help the hobby if videos that do this kind of stuff get promoted. Anyway, I'm going on again. I can start rambling again. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with me this long. And I will see you shortly in the next part 2 of this video. Bye for now.